All right. Hello, everyone. We will be kicking off the DeSci Summit 2024. I'm Erin Magennis, and woo, I'll be diving into a bit of a landscape. Probably a good number of you already have some of this foundation, but then we'll be talking a bit about the DeSci Fellowship Program that will be kicking off in Q2 of this year. So some of it is laying foundation for that conversation. If we can click. Ultimately, science is broken in a bunch of different kind of ways that many of us have likely experienced. However, we can do something about it, and that's probably why we're in the room here today right now. There are a few interesting trends happening, kind of contributing to this brokenness. One is that science is overall becoming less innovative. The system has become a bit kind of tight and static, and this has resulted in decreased exploration of really innovative ideas, as well as decreased even patenting and kind of finalization of those ideas, or pulling them forward to those final states that actually are able to translate into impact in our lives. And another concerning trend is that 50% of scientists are leaving the profession within the first 5 years of becoming a scientist. So we have all of this incredible talent that isn't staying in that domain and also isn't contributing to this shared knowledge base. So across the board, we're losing access to talent and knowledge that we could otherwise be tapping into in effective ways. And the combination of these trends that many of us are a part of is probably why we're in the room here today. So myself, I originally have an education in neuroscience and then left that field to explore what a health tech startup might look like. Continued down that path and eventually found my way back into DeSci. Really interested in how can we build better systems for science and for impact on our world. This has taken me across a wide range of the different orgs in the DeSci ecosystem that I've been able to contribute to so far. Ultimately, DeSci is doing something about all of these different concerning trends, and that's probably why we're here today. Ultimately contributing to this movement, standing on the shoulders of lots of other incredible people that have been working towards open knowledge, scientific discovery, and just advancing society at large. And DeSci is really this platform for opportunity, the same way the internet was kind of this ground and platform for new things to grow up from it. Web3 is also a platform through which different technologies and apps and protocols have blossomed up from there. DeSci is doing the same thing for the future of science in a decentralized type of way. And over the course of time, this has evolved pretty quickly. So starting in May 2022, we have a couple different orgs, and at a high level, we're considering things like Telegram being where community is hanging out. That's still true, but I think that's a good illustration of this was kind of a beginning time of what the DeSci ecosystem looked like. And as we move forward into just a couple months later in October, we see the map expanding pretty drastically. And then moving forward even more, about a year later, a lot more different organizations on this DeSci ecosystem map. Ultimately, DeSci really is this platform that can create alignment and coordination across different organizations, leveraging technology, social constructs, and aligning financial incentives to do so in effective ways. And there are a few different categories that have kind of popped out within the DeSci ecosystem currently, with many more probably blossoming up. The three that I primarily am seeing and focusing on is technical infrastructure. A lot of different companies focused on data as well as publishing, funding, primarily through BioDAOs, funneling money into research in those areas, And then community building with kind of broad definitions across education and awareness or convening of people. And decentralization really kind of enables this to move forward. Over the course of kind of this evolution of DeSci, it's also leaned into kind of different Web3 trends that have popped up. So as we saw that evolution of that ecosystem map, it kind of coincided with some of the first organizations being part of the ICO, initial coin offering, tokenization, kind of that era. And then as we keep moving forward, then DAOs really kind of blossomed up as that kind of ecosystem evolved a bit more. Same thing with NFTs kind of coming into the equation. As we look into kind of this next bull market, there's a lot of conversation about DePIN, kind of that physical infrastructure layer, DeSci, so adding in different social elements, aligning incentives there, and then just larger data lakes and conversations. So I personally predict there will be more trends in DeSci of just organizations popping up in these spaces or seeing applications and leaning into this through how they might function. And this was also explored through DeSci research, where we did a DeSci landscape analysis, really analyzing the ecosystem, what different organizations are focused on right now. And this was stemming primarily from the Gitcoin round that was focused on DeSci. Ultimately, the efforts of this organization is to collect and advance DeSci knowledge. We have survey number 2 open right now. So if you're part of a DeSci organization and haven't filled that out, please do so. So we can share that with the ecosystem as well as different potential funders to kind of bring a bigger eye into what possibilities might lie here. A few of the different findings we discovered in this first survey is a lot of different organizations are focused on a few different core areas, technical infrastructure, community building, research, and funding being kind of those 4 key clusters with a large amount of overlap. As the ecosystem becomes more and more refined, we'll likely see more specialization within those organizations and better coordination across them to kind of reach the next goals. And that's really a benefit that decentralization can provide. I can move on. A few other key findings are what these different DeSci projects need help with. And one is talent attraction, with 54% really kind of prioritizing that. And then 59% also needing help with funding. And this ultimately leads to the question of what opportunities can you see here in DeSci, or kind of leaning into some of these challenge areas. A few that come to mind for me and that I've had conversations with others in the ecosystem on are the cross-pollination of ideas, just knowledge connecting tech and science more effectively. There's still a bit of siloing, and through kind of leaning into more community lenses, there might be better opportunity to bridge those communities together. If we can go back one slide. Another category is really building out that interoperable infrastructure layer that's being heavily focused on by a good number of different companies in space right now, but more build out definitely needs to happen to really allow the visions for DeSci to come to fruition. Then the last one is just upskilling of that talent. Like I was mentioning before, of that exodus of medical professionals as well as scientists, really being able to introduce them into opportunities in this space. There's still some upskilling needed. Same thing on the technological side. And that's really where Muse Matrix comes into play. This is a DeSci fellowship program really designed to address some of these different challenges and be kind of a coordination piece across the entire ecosystem, meeting some of those different needs, filling some of these gaps that aren't the biggest immediate focus or priority for other orgs in the DeSci ecosystem, but are still essential to allow them to really bring their visions to life. it's ultimately in collaboration with everyone in the ecosystem and taking in those different ideas to then serve all the visions we have for the future. Ultimately, this program is 6 months long. The first 2 months is focused on education. Um, then the following 4 months is focused on building with a lot of facilitation. And this heavily leans into the partner and mentor network that we're building out. So if that's of interest, would love to incorporate you and your skill set and knowledge into that. It can be as small as 30 minutes a month to really kind of support the fellows in their upskilling. From the fellows, we'll have 20 fellows in the first cohort. About half of them will be Web3 developers, the other half scientists. And then we're also exploring what does in-person as well as online fellowship look like, and bridging connections between a in-person cohort in London to a globally connected community, and allowing both of those options for people. Ultimately, it is allowing for this cross-pollination of ideas across developers and scientists. So on the developer front, helping them to learn the challenges that are being faced in science so they can apply their technical abilities to solve some of those, and then helping scientists to discover opportunities with different emerging technologies like ZK proofs, blockchain broadly, and AI in particular. And there are a few different focus areas we're starting with, being longevity, neurotech, biosecurity, and synbio. In this first cohort, we're currently kind of scoping out building a basic infrastructure that can really allow each of these spaces to cluster, to kind of blossom up. But this is also informed by the community, by different investor interests as well, and what different opportunities some of these technologies can really help solve for. A second thing we're looking at in this fellowship program is, what does the future of decentralized scientific work look like? We don't currently really have a great answer to what are the needs of kind of a remote, globally connected decentralized scientific workforce versus an in-person programming. So that's part of what we're exploring with that in-person cohort in London, and then the other half being located all around the world. The eventual goal is to have different nodes in lots of other locations and upskill different fellows as well as different partners to run these fellowships through kind of a facilitated standardized curriculum that can be recognized across the entire ecosystem. We already have a bunch of partners on board. We have like 20 more in addition to this, but here are a few different organizations that we're working with already, really trying to build out this robust global workforce of decentralized scientists and projects that can really enable this future. We also invite you to come join this effort. We're looking for mentors to be part of the program. That can be, like I mentioned before, as small as 30 minutes on call, like available as a fellow might need maybe some mentorship or expertise in whatever they might be stuck on. It can also look like coming and teaching a lecture for the fellows during that educational component, or further involvement as well. We're definitely open to that. Kind of paired in with that is building out our entire matrix of partners. So if you're part of an organization or are connected into some type of ecosystem, university, whatever it might be, we would love to have them on board as just being part of this entire matrix of connectivity. The second opportunity is to apply as a fellow or refer someone to apply to be part of this program. It's about 10 hours a week, most of it being async on people's individual time, about 3 hours of synchronous, really connectivity and invitation to interact with leading experts in the field. And then the third opportunity is investing. If there are particular projects you would like to see built out, we can help facilitate that through this fellowship program. And that's one of the goals of this program as well, building like legitimate products and infrastructure that can benefit the entire ecosystem. To stay updated with all of this, just following _matrix_ on X or Twitter is really the best way to find out about that. We have our website, musematrix.xyz, linked there as well. Ultimately, the aims of joining into the Matrix and this fellowship program is to upskill devs and scientists on whatever the other half they might not have as much experience or exposure to in the DeSci equation, building that interoperable infrastructure, and really producing products that are standalone, as well as being able to integrate into other products that already exist in the ecosystem or might exist in the future. And then the third category is if there are different fellows working on projects that kind of were definitive and had a end to them a bit, having that talent then funnel into other awesome orgs in the ecosystem and really serving as kind of that entry point with like a fair bit of foundation in DeSci already. Ultimately, would love to build the future of DeSci with all of you together. Moving into the future, I know I'm already connected to a good number, so for anyone else I'm not yet connected to, open invitation for that. I'm just at Erin Magennis on all traditional socials, at Erin on most Web3 socials. So thank you so much. Do we have time for questions? Cool. If there are any questions, would love to dive in, or if there are any ideas that people want to see built out in DeSci, but maybe don't have capacity within your own organization, or any critiques that you think we should be thinking about. Can also take these offline too. Yeah. Yeah, so one of the projects we're going to encourage fellows in the first cohort to contribute to is a DeSci wiki that can really kind of outline a lot of the different articles that are in the ecosystem currently, as well as kind of break down how they might have learned from them, their takeaways from it, and then have that be this kind of growing documentation source for other people interested in DeSci. So I know there are a bunch of compilations of different resources on other articles we might have generated on different websites. So it can also be referring out to those things, but really having a place that's simple enough, but also robust enough to point people to really help them take those first steps into DeSci. That's one of the projects that will be like an output of this fellowship program, and then it's a living dynamic place that will be continuously added onto. I think there could be some cool exploration of also funneling that into maybe just like a custom GPT that people could ask questions of like, what is this element of DeSci, or what is this company doing with, I don't know, nodes or something, and really be able to have a more interactive environment with it. Yeah, did you have additional thoughts on that? Cool. Awesome. Yeah, so if people have any resources or thoughts on what that should look like, I know I had some interesting convos on this last night at the speaker dinner. Would love to explore that structuring. Yeah. 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 also just helping people understand like you can contribute to science or DeSci like 1 hour a month. And like that can still move the needle forward and also showing them opportunities to do so. Um, I think will help people just take those first steps within DAOs and Web3 broadly. If people aren't used to being able to have the ability to take initiative on their own and are used to some of those hierarchical kind of force structures, it's a bit of a new mindset. So also meeting people where they're at is an essential component of it. Yeah, there are a bunch of interesting things we can do from like personality positioning with that too, that I'm personally excited to explore what that might look like. Any other thoughts, questions? Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.